my good friend Neatsun Ziv to the show. And Neatsun, welcome to the CyberHub podcast, buddy. Great to have you on.
Same here, James. I already prepared my own espresso. Ready to do that.
Cheers, dude. I'll take another sip every day of the week.
Cheers.
I will say I consumed a lot of espresso. Way too much espresso. Way too much espresso. I think at that event right there that you were at too. So with that picture right behind me. But Neatsun, thank you for joining us. I know you guys are busy over at Ox Security. You were really kind of leading a lot of the conversations yesterday around the impact of this. So why don't you help our audience kind of understand a little bit what happened with the NPM debug and chalk compromise? Why does it matter for enterprises relying on open source?
I'll start with explaining what actually happened over there. So one of the maintainers got an email, a phishing email that looks completely okay, that just adding two-factor authentication. Now, this guy actually created a backdoor for somebody to connect to NPM. NPM is basically the storage of most of the packages that we know today in JavaScript. Attackers use this opportunity to go in and actually change one of the packages. Now, this is the interesting thing. They hadn't changed the code, they just took the package itself and created a newer version of this NPM, this package. And since this is a very low-level package, it means that there are a lot of packages on top of it that rely on this package. Now, as this happens and people are building their software, they're pulling in the newest packages, and with them, they're taking the package that was compromised. That's the basic of what happened yesterday.
So when we look at these, these packages that they were stealing, kind of environment variables, right? So environment variables kind of contain a little bit of secrets. So what kind of secrets are we talking about, and how dangerous was this really? Right? Because this was kind of really top of mind for a lot of people yesterday.
Okay, so these guys were really targeting crypto wallets. And the idea is that if you can capture the transaction itself off a crypto wallet, you can actually take yourself quite a nice tip. So they were trying to get the money from a few different kinds of Bitcoins, or I would say crypto coins, and just transfer the money to their own wallet. Now, they've done it in a really, really nice and stealthy way that allowed them to make sure that if this package would have distributed to a lot of different places, that could have been a major hassle. If you recall, just a few years back, we had a major crypto wallet that got this open source as part of their ecosystem. So it's not the first time that we're seeing a crypto wallet in open source. It's one of the famous incidents in software supply chain. So it got us to the place that you're seeing the same thing. Now, think about it, that if you want to break into somebody that is doing right now an application, it's really hard. But if you go lower in the levels on their dependencies, it becomes easier. It is less secure. The lower you go in the levels of, let's say, packages, the idea is that you've got an individual that is maintaining this with a Gmail. It's not behind a corporate. There is no CISO. There is no a lot of security. And here we see an example that a simple phishing email got the trick done.
Yeah, it's amazing how good these phishing emails have gotten thanks to AI, right?
Oh, yes.
But let's talk a little bit about detection and visibility. How would a security team even know if they've been hit by this, right? What are some practical detection signals that you would suggest we look for?
So yesterday we got this question quite a lot. So most of them said, hey, we looked on our SBOM and we don't see this. Now, here's the interesting thing about yesterday's attack. The way that it operated is that they took version and say, we're adding a slight number to that. Now, it means that when you're looking on your daily scan, that won't even appear there because the attack took place at a certain time, which is a few hours after the daily scan. So the SBOM would still show the older version of what you had yesterday. Now, what we started seeing is, as part of our system, there's a way that when you're submitting code to do a merge, we're checking the code itself. Now, at that point, you're seeing a version that has just a package, but there is no associated code version in any public repo. So you see version 2 in the package, but there is no code released on this version, which is weird. So this is how we first saw the indication that something is weird. You're starting to see packages that have zero deployments in the wild. There's no indication of somebody downloading them, and it automatically flagged it as weird. It's part of the severity factors you will see on a package deployed in our system. Now, why is it interesting? Because you're thinking how the security team would actually know about this. The only way that they would know about it is just by the commit gate of the code itself. Without that, there is no way to see it because there was not even 24 hours to complete a daily scan of the system. Just things that go to the pipeline. This is the only place that you could have caught it yesterday.
That's really interesting because when you think of that, we've seen like SolarWinds, we've seen 3CX, we've now seen NPM. These open source dependencies that we all kind of rely on, that our developers live by, are becoming a greater liability, and now they're becoming a consistent target for attackers. How do we start defending against those?
Well, first of all, I think that yesterday's case just shows that if you're relying on somebody and you need to secure all the way down. Now, this is the interesting thing. The phishing was about activating two-factor authentication for the NPM. So that's the beauty of it. It's actually saying, hey, for security purposes, do this. And as you're doing this, you get actually hit. Now, for security teams themselves, there are two things that they can do. One is lock the version. So there is a concept that you can actually say, I want to take the latest version. And this is what most people do. And there's a concept saying, I want to lock the version. Now, one is not better than the other. I'll explain. Let's say that you lock a version, and now you've got an open source incident with the older version. Now you need to go and actually update all those files instead of them being automatically updated. So you're always balancing this equation, saying, what do I want to do versus what do I actually have security for? There is no 100% this or 100% that. It's a balance. It's a strategy discussion.
What would you tell me as a CISO? How would I mitigate this today?
So for yesterday's case, I think that there are two things that you could have done. One, the package itself that was downloaded contained inside of it a malware that would have stolen crypto wallets. My assumption is usually you don't build and release things in one swoop. So if you're doing this, you probably do want to lock your packages to avoid this specific case. Now, I'm taking you just a few months back to the XYZ util, this was there for 3 weeks before it got discovered. So this strategy won't help in that case. So it's only monitoring constantly what's going on into your install base, making sure that you've got always intelligence on everything and every package that you use. And it's just not a daily scan. It needs to be as part of the pipeline. So you can always be proactive and saying, this is okay, this is not okay, this is change, and so on.
So this kind of brings me to the big lesson as we take away from it here is this, you think, is it a problem with SBOM discipline? Is it a problem with how we trust open source ecosystems? I don't know if it's a runtime monitoring issue, but what's the big lesson for us here? What do you think? You think this is going to shift anything, or is this just a headline that's going to die off tomorrow and we'll be looking at the next thing?
I believe it's going to die and move on to the next thing. But let me just explain what's the only single source of truth. Okay, so the only place that you can say, hey, I know exactly what happened here is after the build system. Before the build system, there are indications saying, hey, take version which is at least version 2, for example. So it means that you can take version 2, 3, 4, or 6.2.1, whatever it is that is the recent. So either you lock it to version that you know what it is, so this kind of an attack won't happen, or you're saying, I want to make sure that the SBOM is generated during build time, and at that point, I have immediate visibility on what's happening during the build time itself. So I know exactly what's happening per container that is being built. So that would have given you a good visibility into this specific case. Only making sure that you know what is built, what is in the Docker itself. And that's kind of the thing. There is no one strategy that you're saying it will fit. It is always being dynamic. And I think that, especially today with the opportunities in AI, we're going to see a lot of new things coming in saying, you know what, these kind of things, a human cannot handle them, not in the velocity and not in the quantity. And we will need to start talking in intent and getting to the place that you're saying the next evolution, explaining the strategy and basically hooking to somebody that explains the strategy to you and evolving the strategy on a daily basis.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. Neatsun, I know you guys have been really busy at Ox Security with this NPM thing. I know you were very active yesterday, so I appreciate you we kind of planned this last night while I was working out. I was texting you and you graciously agreed to come on and kind of give us the expert breakdown, which I think we really could have used because of all the noise coming from NPM. So thank you so much. Folks, you can check out ox.security.com and reach out to Neatsun if you have
Just
any additional
security.
questions. Just ox.security. Yeah.
Ox.
Did I say .com? I said .com. Wow, horrible. It just shows you how like programmed I am, right? Like ox.security.
I think it's an age thing.
Yeah, it is an age thing, right? Like ox.com. No, ox.security, folks. Go check out Neatsun. Neatsun, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.